y'all can hear me from here.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So we're going to actually start with meditation today. Remember I told you to remember that slide? Yeah. Let's see a little bit more of that today. So this meditation is going to be a little different. If you're just in the lights a little bit. And I'm going to sing a song for you. And I just invite you to close your eyes and take it all in. And then when I'm done singing, I'm just going to keep playing.
They're over there.
And just let your thoughts take you wherever you want your thoughts to take you. You may take a little tour of your own life. Just look at all the chapters and stages of your life. The song may inspire you to do that. Don't know which way I'm going now. Don't know which way to turn. Can't go back, those days are over now. All my bridges have been burned. The road that led me here was lots of fun. But now it's time that I'm moving on. I know it will be alright, 'cause God is always by my side. So why do I feel so alone tonight at the crossroads of my life? These changes, these changes, these changes, these changes, we live, learn, we love, we change. The river takes me where I need to be. The current's building up inside of me. I know it's leading to an endless sea where my spirit can run free. The rock I'm clinging to has kept me strong. Time to let go now, time to move along. And I know it will be alright, 'cause God is always by my side. So why do I feel so alone tonight at the crossroads of my life? My faith will lead me to the light tonight at the crossroads of my life. These changes, these changes, these changes, these changes, we change, and yet we're still the same.
Well, that was nice. Enjoyed this. It looks like you all are in another time and place right now, too, so that's good. That's the whole idea. So that song I wrote during one of my big profound changes in life. And I'm going to share another one. The concept here is that, you'll hear it in the song, the concept is that there's a perfect order at play at all times. There is a perfect flow of life at all times. But often the distress in life comes from resisting it and fighting it and not allowing what is to become in our lives, to become in our lives. And I had an awakening that I was spending a lot of time doing that myself, so that's when I kind of wrote this song.
Winter's coming again, my friend. I can feel it coming on. Feel the cold wind blowing down the streets of Babylon. It's been such a long time. Yeah, it's been such a long time. Fruits of summer are long gone down. Some are still dead on the vine. The winds of change have stripped the clinging leaves that just stopped trying. It's been such a long time. Yeah, it's been such a long time. Why do I run? Why do I hide? When will I face the truth? When will I align? When will I align? Cold and barren landscapes got me chilled right to the bone. There's loving eyes around me, yet somehow I'm all alone. It's been such a long time. Yeah, it's been such a long time. Seasons come and seasons go. They're always right on time. I can bitch and I can moan and maybe any mind. It's been such a long time. Yeah, it's been such a long time. Yeah, it's been such a long time. Yeah, it's been such a long time. Why do I run? Why do I hide? When will I face the truth? When will I align? When will I align? Why do I run? Why do I hide? When will I face the truth? When will I align? When will I align? When will I align?
Good question, isn't it? Where am I aligned? I'm still asking you, by the way. But I think I'm doing a little bit better at it now than I have in the past. Listening to the quiet voice instead of waiting for that face. So you know what that face is, right? It's actual footage of me going through changes. Can you relate? Anybody else feel that way? Yes. I think we all know what I'm talking about. Changes are not easy. Even if the change is magnificent, like this, like a lump of coal turning into a diamond, I would bet that if that piece of coal had human consciousness as opposed to coal consciousness, it would resist. Because it likes its life as coal. Because coal's cool. You can heat homes with it. I like being coal. Never ever realizing that the life of a diamond might be an even better proposition. And I think this is the enemy. The enemy of change is the comfort zone, right? We all know that. And that's what we're talking about today. That's the point of this talk, is to try to get over the idea that change is bad. Is to try to understand the process of change so it's demystified, and then you can get over this phase, right? And get to a better place with it so that you're not losing precious years of your life resisting what is inevitable anyway. And we all know we have a fixed amount of years here on earth. And it's just wasteful to spend so much of that time fretting over what is inevitable anyway. Don't you agree? Yes. So that's what we're talking about. And again, remember that slide? I had no idea that slide was coming. But this whole talk is based on the transformational cycle of a butterfly. So, begins with an egg. I don't know, chicken or the egg? Did it begin with a butterfly or the egg? I don't know. Let's just say it started with the egg. Way back before the world had butterflies and then something appeared. But anyway, egg.
I'll go with egg too.
Okay, we'll go with egg. So then, of course, you have a caterpillar. And I would venture to say that, again, caterpillars probably enjoyed being caterpillars. Because it's all they knew. They crawled around, they got leaves, they knew what they were doing, they understood their world with their little legs. And then, something happened. Right? Transformation was coming. And guess what? I promise you, it was not enjoyable. Because inside that chrysalis is what they call bug soup. The caterpillar is gone. It's completely dissolved. All remnants of the caterpillar are gone. And what's left is literally a soup. And in that soup, there's these certain cells that trigger the growth and development of a butterfly, and they're called imago cells. I-M-A-G-O. The root of the word imagine, right? Remember that, because that's coming. And then suddenly, there's a butterfly that I would bet that consciousness was suddenly really happy that they went through that bug soup phase. I would bet. Oh, I had no idea I was going to fly. I thought crawling around on a twig was fun. This is really cool. But you had to go through the bug soup phase to get there. Has anybody had a bug soup phase in their life? I've had a couple of those. So, all right. So what if caterpillars did have free will, like humans do? What if they were being prompted to give up their life as a caterpillar, right, to become bug soup? without knowing the end product. And that's the key. We don't always know the end product. We don't always know where we're going. We're being asked to become bug soup on nothing but the promise and the faith that this is going to bring us somewhere good. Right? That's all we've got. We just don't know the end product. We just don't. And that's what makes life on Earth so interesting. That's what makes Earth school so interesting, right? So I would bet that if caterpillars had free will like humans do, I would bet there'd be a lot less butterflies on this planet.
Yeah.
Don't you think so? And a lot more dead caterpillars because they can't even survive unless they go through their cycle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about that. Sure, you give me that face. All right. So we're gonna take a work that I found on the internet from it's actually a Greek therapist who kind of took that concept and adapted it to what we on Earth go through in terms of dealing with change. So these are the 4 stages of our own personal metamorphosis, and isn't that a cool picture?
Yeah.
Just imagine that. So the first stage is called dissolving. Kind of like going from a caterpillar to bug soup. The next stage, funny enough, just like the imago cells, it's the imagining stage. Followed by reforming, and then ultimately flying. So these are the 4 stages that we're going to keep in our mind as we think about some of our own changes. You may be in the middle of a change right now. You may be in any one of these stages right now. And you'll begin to recognize it and demystify it and just make it easier to cope. If you happen to be in a bug soup stage, this might help. This might help a lot to imagine that there's always a process and that no stage stays stagnant. There's never been a stage in any one of our lives that has remained the same. I'll just discuss a few of my stages to kind of give you an example, and I'm sure you could all relate. So I was born, a little Italian kid in New Jersey, to an intact, nice little family, just a nice little family unit until I was 7 years old when my parents divorced. At that stage, I went through this cycle. And during that cycle, I emerged a different person. The same, just like the song I sang. We changed, but yet we're still the same. So you're the same person, but you're different. There's a fundamental difference in who you are at that stage. So then I became kind of I guess an unsupervised Jersey hoodlum might be the best way to put it. Just picture me in the streets doing whatever I wanted to do until sundown and getting in all kinds of trouble. That was a nice stage. And then I picked up the guitar and I thought I was going to be a rock star. And I put together a band that did Kiss music. Remember Kiss?
Really?
Yeah, really. And we had a drummer that would actually spit fire.
Really?
Yes, absolutely true. True story. So that was my rock star stage. And then I decided to get serious. I went to college and I was working, and then I met Christine. You all know Christine, and then we got married. So now I'm a married man with kids, and there's one of them right there, Victoria. Big change, whole different human. Now I'm dad. That's a big thing. That's a huge change. And we were living in New Jersey at the time, and I got laid off. Bug soup. Bug soup. Then I got quickly rehired from the same company with a promotion. So that bug soup only lasted 2 weeks. And then I got a promotion and we moved to Savannah, Georgia. And at that stage, Christian was born in Savannah. Now, you're laughing because you're picturing this Jersey guy in Savannah, aren't you? Yes. It was quite a transition. It was harder for them than for me, though, I gotta bet. They thought the Antichrist had arrived. So what I did to survive being a northern salesman in the South, what I did to survive that experience, was I started this little routine about being in the witness protection program. I swear to you, they believed me. They called me my little tank buddy. We had a lot of fun there. You know, a Jersey guy in Savannah. That was a fun experience. All good things transitioning come to an end, and we moved to Fredericksburg, and guess what? I hated Fredericksburg. Oh my God, I hated it. Well, Savannah was a big, cool city. And I just kept driving around downtown saying, where is it? There's these two streets, but where's the rest of it? And it just never happened. But eventually, you know, this is where we decided to raise our kids, and we stayed here, and it's turned out to be awesome. Loved every minute of it. Unity finally came. We were going up and down, going to Arlington, going to Richmond. And Unity finally came in 2000, found a spiritual home, and Fredericksburg became home. And I won't go through every step, but I was laid off a few more times. That seems to be a theme in my life. I'm facing a potential layoff on October 30th again, so prayers up, please.
Bug soup.
Bug soup. Man, I'm good at bug soup. I'm good at that. But then, when I wrote that song, that's when Christine and I decided to divorce. And it was simultaneous with another layoff, by the way. That was huge. That was huge. That was big. And that bug soup lasted a while. But it was also an interesting time because I got my new home, and we would transition the kids week on, week off. You remember, Jordan? You love packing those bags and coming, didn't you? She's like, oh, I hate this packing.
I was in my bug soup.
Right, you're in your own bug soup. But it was an interesting time because one week all the kids would be there. Even the dog came back and forth. So here comes Scruffy and the kids. And I'd have a whole week of single dad with 3 kids and a dog. And then the next week would be complete and total silence. And that was a good time for me. I learned a lot about myself, and I still maintain my relationship with the kids. And that transition brought me to another transition when I met Charlie. And that was joyful. So all that pain became joy. All that bug soup became butterfly all over again. And here I am, and it's not ending. It's not ending because there's a potential another layoff here. So that's the thing that we talk about. As we go through these stages, you'll realize that you're only ever in a stage for a period of time, and then there's another one coming. There's always another one coming. It's just like being in the ocean, the waves. You just rode a wave. That's fun, but get ready because the next one is right there. Right? So let's talk about dissolving for a minute. I can't believe I found photographs that actually did this, but look at that. So what is the dissolving phase all about? This is the hardest. This is the scariest. This is when you feel as if you're losing yourself. Because to a certain degree you are. And that's why I was saying I release and I let go today. Because sometimes you choose to release, and other times the universe chooses for you. Right? The point is, how resistant are you during the process? If you recognize it, if you remember this talk and you say, oh, okay, I remember this talk and this is that stage, it doesn't last forever, I'm not afraid of it anymore, and I look back at my life and I see I've been through it 1,000,000 times, then it demystifies and it makes it a little bit easier to tolerate, right? So that's what this stage is all about. It's just a blip. So what then do we do? Well, the first thing we avoid is avoidance. Because during this stage, you could try your best to avoid your feelings, to avoid what you're going through, to avoid the inevitable aspect of this phase, which may just be sadness. And if you avoid the sadness, then guess what you're doing? You're just delaying the sadness. That's all you're doing. You can't really avoid it. You can only delay it because it's sitting there. So the best way, if you really want to accelerate this process and you really want to get out of this stage quickly, then feel it. Experience it. Honor it. Recognize it for what it is. And process it. And then you start to realize that you start feeling better. So what do you do when you're in this stage? Well, this is not the time for big planning and all that's coming. This is the time for just surviving from one day to the next. Sometimes it's 1 hour to the next. It really depends on what you're going through. But this is a time where you really just have to take care of yourself. You go into your own little cocoon, right? Isn't that a nice little metaphor for what you're supposed to do at this stage? You protect yourself in this little cocoon. Because if that bug soup didn't have a cocoon, it would just be a mess on the floor, right? The cocoon held it all together. So you can do that for yourself. You could also reach out to people who can help you through this phase, because everyone's been there. There's almost nothing we can experience in life that someone else hasn't. So it's always a good time to reach out to others and really relate to them. And if you're grieving, grieve. Feel your feelings. It's a way to really accelerate this process. And it's true. It's honoring to you as a person, to who you are, to be genuine with yourself. So we'll get out of that stage, which everyone hates. And then we get into this stage, which everyone loves. Because any control freaks out there? All right, nine at least admits it. Everybody else said that. But I don't believe. I think there's more than just 9 out there. But
You mean self-declared?
Self-declared, right? Or willing to admit it. But the imagination phase is where you start to feel your power again. You don't spend every waking moment thinking bug soup thoughts. You've processed so much that you're now ready to imagine the new you, the new person that is emerging from this. And we're not identical to butterflies. We're so much more complex than a butterfly. A caterpillar is going to become a butterfly. That's it. But we actually get the opportunity to steer it. We actually get the opportunity to steer what that new vision might look like. Because we're co-creators. We're not just operating on instinct like the animal kingdom. We actually are participants in what that next choice might look like, in what that butterfly phase and stage might look like. So, the thing to avoid here is looking backwards. Because this is a very forward-facing stage. And when you look backwards, I promise you, you'll get immersed back in your system. This is the time you've done that work. You've done that processing. There'll always be that pain there. But it's not the time to focus on it. Because that doesn't go away. It just kind of it releases the intensity of it. But we all know that we all live with a certain level of pain from whatever we've been through. And it's always there to some degree. The question is, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing forward on imagining your new self? Or are you still looking backward? And I've known so many people that get caught up right here. They're in this great stage, but they're looking backwards the whole time, and they're missing the opportunity to become whatever that next stage is. So we know we shouldn't look backwards, but what should we do? Well, this is the time to do everything, and this is a great topic for vision because we love vision boards, right? We love doing that kind of work. Daydreaming, adding detail to imagination is incredibly powerful. Put yourself in the situations you want to be in, see it with vivid detail. Put it on a vision board. Create your future visually in front of you, and then watch it begin to appear. This is the law of mind action. This is the law of attraction at work now. That's what this stage is all about. It's about creation. So adding lots of detail. Now, I'll ask you this. What's the difference now? Because this is a lot of dreaming. But what's the difference between a dream and a goal? Thank you. Deadline. That's it. And if you write it down, it's even more powerful because it's the first time that it went from the ethereal realm to the manifest realm. The first time that happens is when you write it down. And when you put a deadline on it, it suddenly becomes a dream. It suddenly becomes a goal, right? I remember there were times where I would say, you know, someday I'm going to do the talk at Unity Church. Someday. Anybody ever do a someday? Yeah. Does someday ever come? No. But you set a goal with a date. You know, by this time next year, I want to have begun my, whatever career it is, in speaking. So I started to talk to people and to make this happen. I started to create it. I started to envision it. And suddenly I started to get invited to do talks. And then, as God would have it, God would speak through me in ways that would make people enjoy the talks so that they'd invite me back. And that became a cycle for me. But it didn't until I took all that imagination and I created a deadline with it. So that's an important aspect of it. And the quote here is, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but rather it's imagination. So, the next phase here is reforming. And we'll start with a quote from Winston Churchill. I love this quote. Success is stumbling from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. Think about that. Because, you know, we've all heard the stories. We've all heard the Oprah Winfrey stories about how she was fired because she wasn't fit for TV. We've all heard, you know, Michael Jordan's stories about how many shots he missed. He's proud of how many shots he missed because that's what made him the superstar that he's become. This is that stage where the thing to not do here is give up. Because just because you've imagined it, just because it's down on your list, and just because it's a goal, doesn't mean it's easy. If it's something you really, really want to become, you're going to have failures, right? You're going to stumble. And as Winston Churchill says, you just keep that enthusiasm alive, and you know you're one more failure closer to your success. And that actually makes failure valuable. Because, all right, I got another one down. I don't know how many I've got in me, but I know I've got one less. Right? So this is that time to really stick with it. Be willing to start over. Expect things to go wrong. And yes, you may have to revisit phase 2 here because there's disillusionment. And when we're disillusioned, we tend to go into our little cocoons and turn into bug soup again. But this time it's not for long. Because you know you don't belong there permanently, right? You know that that was just a momentary setback. Because I'm not in that stage. I've done that stage. I'm in the stage where I'm reforming my life. I've already imagined what it's going to look like. And now I'm creating it physically. And I know it's not going to be easy. And I know I'm going to stumble, but I know I'm going to stick to it. And then, stage 4 is flying. So what is this all about? This is the promise. This is the promise of caterpillar to bug soup to butterfly. This is that stage where it all comes together and we're enjoying it. This is that stage when Charlene and I got married last year in July. Flying. I mean, that was a flying high experience, flying high time in our lives. There was nothing, there was no bug soup even, there was no remnants of bug soup in my mind or in my life at that point. It was flying because we'd gone through the stages, we'd gone through the cycles. And then since then we've gone through our stages now because now we have an empty nest. A legit empty nest. Mason's gone off to school. And that's been a major transition for our lives. A little bit of bug soup going on at the Agnellini house right now. We're recognizing that. Char's mom recently passed. So we're you know, you don't just fly forever. You just keep going through cycles. And if you recognize that, and you just know this is not permanent, this is a phase. This is not permanent, this is a phase. And it really helps you enjoy those flying moments even more. Because I'm in my flying phase. I get to really just enjoy it. I've done the work. I'm here. So, what to avoid? Well, don't miss your opportunity. So, I talked about my desire to become a speaker. And then finally, there was an opportunity. I could have said no. I could have chickened out, right? Because I was a nervous wreck, legitimately a nervous wreck. I have no earthly right to be up here whatsoever. I have no degree, no training, I'm not a minister, none of that. I'm a guy with a guitar that writes songs. But somehow or another, God opened up a path for me to stand here and speak my truth. And I could have said no, right? For all those fears, I could have said, no, what am I doing up there? You know, I'm not a minister. I could have let all those fears play into it, but I didn't. I did. And I'm actually happy now that I'm not a minister, because I think, for me, it brings me closer to the people that I'm talking to. And it gives me the freedom to say what I want to say. Right? There's no doctrine in this head. Right? There's just things I've learned along the way. And I get the freedom to change my mind, too, which I really like. That's the best freedom of all, because every day when you wake up and you hear new information, you should change your mind. That should, as opposed to the cognitive dissonance you get when you got to hold on to this. Like, this is the way my life is. And you throw something at me that doesn't work with that, and I just have to throw that away because it's not fitting in my box. So I've enjoyed my flying moments. And that's where we kind of come to an end now with Ecclesiastes. And we all know this. This is chapter 3, verse 1. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter. We all know that because it's a song. I just have to find the song and we'll play. You all remember this song? You can sing along. That's allowed. Now you all remember it. This was the Birds, right? Thank you, everyone.